Okay, we're going to start looking at how we create that double zipper panel at the top. Now, what I will say at the beginning of the video, this is probably going to be fairly long, this video, is watch the video all the way through so you fully understand where you're going. Read the instructions, watch the video, read the instructions again, and when you do this, follow the instructions to the letter. This took me a long time to work out, and you need to be very, very accurate with your seam allowances and what have you. So let's, really feel like you understand where we're going before you start making, doing what you're doing. So you're going to need your center zipper panel and your center zipper panel lining, whether that's fabric or whether that's faux leather and fabric. Either way, it's exactly the same construction. If you lay them wrong side up on your table, one end will have the two little cutouts, and make sure that that's at the same end so they're sitting sort of almost opposite each other. And on either the outside edge or the inside edge, it doesn't matter, as long as they're done on opposite edges for each piece. Mark a line on the wrong side that is 3/4 of an inch away from the side. Now you can see, if I just turn this round, you can see that there's my two top bits cut out, and I've made my marks on the inside edge. If you did it the other way around, it would be on the outside edge. It doesn't matter which edge you do, as long as they're the opposite edges on each piece. So you can see they're not the same edge on both pieces. Now, this is my lining panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the edge of my lining panel over so that it touches that 3/4 of an inch line that I've just made. And I'm going to press it in place. It's important that you press this carefully, because what you're making is a 3/8 of an inch hem on the side of your lining. Accuracy is key for this piece, because if you don't do exactly 3/8 of an inch on both pieces, you're going to end up with a slightly wonky looking zipper. So press it over so that it touches that line. I'm just going to redo that little bit at the bottom there, because I think I've not pushed it far enough. So I'm just going to open it up. And I'm not used to this iron. It's got a lead on it, so it kind of keeps. I'm going to put it back on its stand. I'm worried it's going to throw itself off the table. My other one was cordless, so it didn't sort of go anywhere. If I put it on the table, it stayed on the table. This is a bit of an adventure for me, having an iron with a cord on it. So very carefully make sure that your raw edge touches that line, and give it a really good press. So now you can see at the top where that little cutout is, my fold that I've just created is right on the side of that cutout. That's how it should be. So if your little cutout sits right on the edge, you've got it perfect. Now for our exterior panel, now I'm using my faux leather. If you're using fabric for your exterior, you can do exactly the same thing again. You can mark it and press it. If you're using faux leather, mark it and then put a little strip of double-sided tape or glue, if you prefer, on the shorter side. I was canny, look, I pulled that off before, otherwise I spent 20 minutes trying to get it off. And again, fold the edge so that it touches that line. Now, depending on how thick your faux leather is, you may need to add a couple of clips to that, and depending on how strong your double-sided tape is or your glue. I use, it's 2mm double-sided tape. I don't use the quilting stuff. My machine doesn't seem to have an issue with stitching through this. It is very, very narrow. This came from eBay. I've had it from J-Trim, for any of you that have J-Trim accounts. It's used in mobile phone manufacture, so it's not designed for sewing. It's not designed to be sewn through, but it's literally about 90p for a roll. It's really good value. So, and I refuse to pay for the very expensive quilting stuff that you can actually stitch through. So this is what I use. So I'm pushing that side in to the line that I drew. And again, when I look at the top, you can see that my fold goes right to the edge of that little cutout that you've got on the top. And I've just got a little bit of double-sided tape sticking out the top there. And you can see now how close your pull tab is to the very edge. So this is why I said if you're going to use rivets in there, you need to make sure that those rivets are small enough that they don't kind of overlap the edge of your panel. I think I've been a bit slapdash with that bit at the top there though. So let's just stick that down again. So now we have our two panels, each with a fold. Now we are not going to worry about the folded side. We are going to be working on the other side, the side that's still got the raw edge. Now what I'm going to do is change my foot to a zipper foot because that's what I need on now. Assuming I didn't put my zipper foot in a safe place, never to be found again, which does sometimes happen. Okay, I'm not absolutely sure where that's gone. I'm so organised. Oh, there it is. So I'm just changing to my zipper foot. And this is a 1/8 of an inch foot, which I use for zipper feet. I also have your standard adjustable zipper foot, which I do use sometimes, but I just prefer this one at the moment. This is my thing. So you're going to take one of your pre-prepared zippers, take off your clips. You shouldn't need those anymore. That should all be glued in place. And you're going to, first of all, you're going to make a small mark that's 1/4 of an inch down from the cutout. Let me just double check that because I think I may be telling you a lie. I can't even read my own writing. I've written loads of notes. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to position our zipper wrong sides together with the exterior panel, leaving 1/4 of an inch at the end. And we're going to clip it in place. So 1/4 of an inch down from that cutout that you made. And this is on the side of the panel that has the raw edge, not the side that has the fold. Once I've got it clipped in place, I will show you, which gives you a better sort of idea of how this works. Grab some more clips. Make sure your zipper is perfectly matched with the very edge of your panel, and you're going to clip it all the way down. And this is where I say the zipper is too long. That's fine. It just gives you a little bit of wiggle room with this. So if I do my zipper up, you can see how it's actually positioned. So this is the folded edge that I've made, and this is the raw edge. And my zipper is facing right sides together with my exterior panel, and I've lined up my outside edge of my zipper, leaving 1/4 of an inch at the top. So 1/4 of an inch from that cutout. Okay. Now I'm going to take that to the machine. And I am going to stitch that zipper in place using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. It's really important that you stick to the correct seam allowance at this point. I find it easier to do with the zipper full out of the way. So I just literally pull it out of the way. So stitch all the way down. Stitching your zipper to your exterior centre zipper panel. Just going to move the zipper pull out of the way. I apologise about the squeaking in the background. It would appear that my dog has found a squeaky toy and is happily playing with it. Normally he doesn't touch anything like that, but he's decided today to have a play, just when I could at least do without squeaky noises. So I'm getting rid of my threads. And my zipper is now fully attached on one side to my top centre panel. Now I'm going to take my lining panel and I'm going to lay it right sides together over the top with the folded edge against the other folded edge. So make sure that you're lining it up with the raw edge over the top. And we're just going to line it up, making a right sides together, making a sandwich with the zipper in the middle. Do this as accurately as you possibly can. It should match up at the bottom and at the top. Now I'm just going to open my zipper again, because again this is a lot easier with the zipper open. I just find it gets in the way, the zipper pull, so I just tend to pull it right down to the bottom almost, and then pull the other half of the zipper out and line up those top edges also. Match up your two little cutouts in the corner. That should all match up perfectly, and actually if you want to sort of measure it up, your folded edge should all sit next to each other as well. Now what we're going to do, having done that, is we're going to stitch across here, across the top, and then back down the side of the zipper. So we're going to stitch across the top at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And when you get to this point where that cutout is, that is where you're going to pivot. At that corner, you're going to pivot. You're going to be coming 1/8 of an inch in from that, because that's only 1/4 of an inch down that upright on that cutout. So you're going to be slightly below it. But when you get to that point where the, let me just find a pointy thing so I can actually point to it rather than, when you get to this point here, which is just, it's going to be 1/8 of an inch below that angle, you're going to pivot, because that's the 3/8 of an inch mark, and that's how you're going to know that you're on the right line to stitch down the side of your zipper. So let's just put that away so I don't stab myself. So 3/8 of an inch across the top here. That will hold those folds down. So it will, you'll be stitching across the folds that you've just made. It will hold the folds in place. Just one back stitch at the beginning. Do this nice and slowly. It will pay dividends doing it slowly, I promise you. And when you get to where that the little cutout is, pivot and stitch all the way down the side of your zipper at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Move my zipper pull back up so that I don't go wonky at the bottom. A couple of back stitches at the bottom, and that's that done. Now we're going to take our scissors, except for I don't appear to have my big scissors here. They must be over here. There they are. And I'm just going to trim off that little bit of excess fabric in that top corner and the excess zipper from the top corner. So I've just removed any excess fabric effectively. I'm also going to remove the corner where the fold is. So what I've then ended up with is I've taken all of this off. I've removed the corner where the fold is. I'm probably about 1/8 of an inch away from my stitching. If I go too close, then it'll fray, and I don't want to do that. If you're concerned about fraying, you can put a little bit of fray check on that corner just to be on the safe side. And I've removed any excess fabric from that corner. I am just going to take a little bit extra out, and I'm just going to trim off that top bit as well. You want to just try and remove as much bulk as you can from that top corner. And this is, I'll refer to this as the top of the zipper panel. This is the bottom. What we're then going to do is we're going to turn it right sides out. I'm going to push out that top corner. Do this gently. You don't want to push right through. So the corner where your zipper is going into, push that out so that you end up with a nice square corner. And I like to just pop a couple of clips on it just to hold the lining behind the exterior fabric. Now I know because my lining and my exterior fabric are both quite bright, it's quite difficult to figure out which one is which actually. Now to make it easier, I like to just pop a few clips along the other side, holding those two folds together. Don't need to clip it entirely because we are actually going to put our zipper in there, that gap in a moment, but it just helps to kind of visualize what you're doing if you clip it. Now you can see, if I pull that flat, that we actually have a zipper attached on one side, albeit not top stitch in place, but it's attached on one side. This is my exterior fabric, this is my lining fabric. So I'm going to come back to you shortly and show you how to put the other zipper in.